In that cell where I was, I shared the cell with 3 other women. There was a 4th one who came, but I won't talk about her. One was a woman called Hadija. She was a housewife. She was there, and she was taken every morning, early in the morning, to another police station in Wandege, and would be thrashed and beaten and told to confess. Because she herself was actually not the suspect, but she was there because her husband was suspected of being a car robber. Police had come and searched their home and found there parts of cars, number plates, things like that, indicating that he was probably involved in stealing cars. And they wanted her to tell them where her husband was and where his friends were. And she said she didn't know, but every day they'd take her and whip her, and she'd come back crying, and they went on because they knew she knew something. So she was there to tell them about her husband. That was Hadija. The other woman was a market vendor. She had her stall at a market. I think it was in Middle East. And in her stall, she sold vegetables and all of that. She fell in love with a man, and they started to live together. 4 years on, they were living together. She was working in her stall, but she had no children. So one day she comes back home, and she finds that their one-room home was locked. They lived somewhere in Katwe, was locked. Their slum dwelling. And she goes to the neighbor and says, "Did my husband leave my keys with you?" And the woman says, "No." She says, "So where is he?" And the neighbor says, "You mean you don't know?" She says, "No what?" Reluctantly, the neighbor says to her that, "You know, your husband has gone together with my husband and some other friends, and he's going to marry a second wife. He's at a wedding right now." In her anger, she goes and gets someone, she cuts the padlock, opens, takes out all her stuff. She said that everything in that little room was hers, including the bed. She had them put on a lorry and she disappeared. Of course, when the husband came and found nothing in the flat with his new bride, in his humiliation, he also went to the police, reported burglary. They looked for her, and indeed they found Margaret. She was now in jail for burglary, burgling her own house, breaking into her own home. She was there, put there by her husband. That was Margaret. The third one that is the one I never forget. I mean, I never forget the 3, but Sophie remains in my heart. Because Sophie was barely, in my view, she was about 16. She couldn't have been 18, 16, 17. She couldn't speak any language I understood. I learned she was from the East. She was a Teso. Sophie had been brought from the village in Teso by a woman, a rich woman, who came home looking for a house girl. The neighbors gave her Sophie, "Take her, she can work for you." She lived there in Kampala, city she didn't know, working as a domestic worker for this family. One day, the head of the home, the man, forced himself on her, started abusing her. So, when the woman would be away at work, the man would return home and sleep with her. She soon found out. She beat her so badly, the girl fled, went on the streets, found other girls there, and became a sex worker. She still did not speak Luganda. She didn't speak Swahili. She spoke her Atesot. So it was so hard to communicate because I was trying to find out, why are you here? What happened? In a few English words, I got this story about how she came to Kampala, how she ran away from a home where she was abused by the man and abused by the woman of the home, and was on the street. She said, I was hanging around with other girls, and the police said we were idle and disorderly, and I'm here now. She was in prison. She didn't know why she was there, but she knew that sex work is illegal. That's why she was there. So those are the stories of the women I met in prison. I spent my days there thinking, what is the law? Is this justice? No justice. No justice for women. I came out radicalized. And you might think I was radicalized about women's rights. I already was. But no. I came out very angry on the question of class. Class. Because the law works for some people. The law works for rich men and rich women. It don't have to work for poor people. These were poor women. That was their difference with me. I was also in prison. Actually, for also a man, because my man had run away. You had escaped 7. And I was also arrested and told to explain what he was doing and what I was doing. So, but this is why this question is so important to me of incarceration. In prison, I found there women. And that's why she's my idol, our Justice Besigye. She's my idol. Because I read her book. For the majority of our people here on this continent, and I've traveled it all, their lives, the lives of ordinary people, are regulated by informal law. Their lives are regulated by religion, by customs and traditions. And these are resistant to change. The law that you work on is important because it drives also the change in informal laws. There's a connection. But you need to make that connection. It doesn't just happen naturally. It's not a trickle-down theory of the neoliberals, where they maximize at the top and they hope something drops to the bottom. No. The formal law needs to be connected to informal law. It must keep changing, making informal law more and more progressive and more in line with the formal law. That's why you need to work with movements. That's why I believe in the power of movements. Without them, your work here will be limited in what it can achieve for people on the ground. I'll tell you one story and then take my seat to demonstrate this. I used to live, when I was a member of parliament, I lived near Luzira prison. And I often got letters from prisoners. And living a busy life of a politician, I didn't always reply. But there was one woman who wrote to me, and I felt compelled even to go to the prison to see her. I went to see her. She was called Lydia, and she was from my home area in Barada. We spoke the same language. She had a little child. She was in a prison with her baby. Her baby seemed to be like 3-4 years old. She'd already been there for 2 years on remand, so she must have come with a breastfeeding baby. She was on remand. She had never been to court. So I asked her, what's your crime? what did you do? What are you said to have done? She said, well, somebody was killed in our village, and they came and arrested all of us and brought us here. All of you, how many? About 10 of us. I said, so do you know about the other 10? No, I don't know. They are men. They're in the men prison. She had no idea. So have you been to court? No. So I could see that this is someone who could be forgotten on remand forever. I promised I was going to go get her a lawyer to come and help her push her case and get her out on bail. I didn't do it. I was too busy. About a year later, I woke up one morning and I found her and her baby sitting on my veranda. I said, Lydia, where are you coming from? Do you know what she said to me? She said, Basasi, they forgive me. I said, Lydia, who forgave you? She said, the government. I said, what do you mean? She said, they have released me. I said, but forgive you for what? Did you kill the person? No, I didn't. But they forgave me from prison. Her sense of rights was not there. She just knew that the government can take you and they can release you when they want. Now they had forgiven her. She was grateful. Now, this is my last message to you, that on this agenda of reproductive rights, it is about the rights of women. It's the rights of women in poverty who are not aware of these rights that you are fighting for them. Their awareness is important. The narrative to them about their rights, control their bodies, because that's the front line of the struggle for gender equality, control of our bodies. For them to know this and own this as their own agenda, not a Western agenda, not an agenda being funded by foreigners. We have to reach them. And it's you who must frame a language around this. Don't just be concentrated on the language for the parliamentary place where the law will be struck out. Frame also the language for the ordinary woman to know that I have a right to decide. I can decide how many children I want. I can decide I will not accept to be beaten in a marriage. I will frame a good language around reproductive health for us to claim an African language. And I'm so happy to know that that's what Tahaki is focusing on. An African narrative about sexual reproductive health and rights. We will not let that rights bit go away.